All right, so we are on the search to become the most liberated badass lover possible. And in order to do that, you have to be able to also be really good at apologizing, right? So one of the things that I've learned over time is that I haven't given enough attention to apologizing and the role of apologizing inside of my relationships. And it's just not something I learned growing up. I grew up in a church, I grew up with a strong religious background, and we talked like a ton about forgiveness, but we didn't actually talk like as much or in a way that really impacted me, that really like gave me a process of how to do apologizing in a transformational type of a way. And so that's something that I've learned in the last few years here of how to give like the really deep, sincere apology. Not only to just say the words, I'm sorry, but to take full responsibility, full ownership over this thing that you've done. So I'm Sarah, and I am a life strategist helping people to wake up to lives that they love by fully owning their own life. I've been a therapist, licensed clinical social worker for the last 20 years, and have recently gone completely online and visiting all the social platforms like YouTube and being here with you. And I am so grateful for you to be here with me. So as we're thinking about this concept of apologizing, it really is the fastest way to improve your relationships, to get really good at taking full responsibility for the ways in which you show up in the world that have the potential to cause harm to other people. Now, I'm not talking about like harm, but I'm talking about like where you're offensive. And really at the end of the day, what I've learned for myself is that my insecurities, my shame, as I affectionately refer to her, my shame, my insecurities, my fears, my doubts, my worries are all rooted in some of my very core early childhood experiences. And I have like carried them around with me, most of the time without knowing it, but I've literally like carried them with me from the past and into my present. And so this past weekend, I recently started dating someone new. And I had this crazy experience this past weekend where things didn't go as I had expected them to, right? Which is one of the things that I have had to deal with growing up in a home where everything was so focused on being good and doing all the right things and following all of the rules. I have it like in my being that I am a striver of doing good. And when things don't go according to plan, I have anxiety. So obviously as a professional, this is what I help people with. And at the very same time that I help people with it, I get to help myself with it. And I am a full-on believer on immersive learning. And so I've done tons and tons of work on myself in helping myself to become the most liberated badass that I can be, which includes learning how to be really good at apologizing. So over the weekend, there was a situation that happened. Things didn't go as planned, and I misinterpreted some information, and he was having his own thing going on, right? Basically, like you meet somebody and you have all these emotions going, all these hormones, and all of these like thoughts and stuff that you've got to sort through from like your whole life impacting how you make decisions right now in the moment. And so all of these emotions were coming together. And then all of these feelings alongside of my shame and my insecurities, alongside of his shame and his insecurities, and all of our shit from the past. Sounds very busy, doesn't it? But believe it or not, that's actually happening like all the time. So all the time at varying levels, right? And so the reason it comes up the most in relationships is because relationships are the place where we are the most known or have the most risk of becoming known or exposed to people that we care about. So of course, this is going to happen even more and or the most in your most significant relationships. And so dating, family, and anyone else that you like really care about, that is when your shit gets triggered the most. So things don't go according to plan. I start feeling bad. He's feeling bad. We're like missing each other in communication. And I have this really amazing experience, honestly. It was like one of those times of like where you feel like you're using some kind of hallucinogenic drugs, where you can see into just deeper levels than your normal everyday awareness and seeing. And because I focus so much on all of this stuff, it actually happens somewhat regularly, and I've learned how to really increase my ability to be able to see into greater levels of awareness and depth and energy than ever before in my entire life, which I want for all of you, because the more we can see, the more you can see into your stuff and into your baggage and into your experience, into the parts of your brain that are providing all of this information and these experiences for you, the more you can get liberated. And the more you are liberated, the better this world is that we live in. And like, hello, there is a shitstorm of stuff going on out there, and we need all the help we can possibly get. So it is my mission to create and help other people get even more liberated in their life. So all of this is happening, and my shame gets triggered. And I have this out-of-body kind of feeling experience where I go back into my past, travel back into my past, and I am desperately searching for an answer for why this thing happened. Like, it doesn't make any sense. This miscommunication, miscommunication is the best way to describe it, to keep it short. There's nothing that makes sense for me. And so my brain, being one that is has an insatiable curiosity, and as for you as well, like, your brain desperately wants to make sense of why things don't work the way you expect them to. And when they don't work out the way you expect them to, your brain goes searching for an answer. The untrained brain goes searching desperately for an answer. And it will find one. Like, no matter what, it will find one. And if your brain is untamed, the way that the subconscious mind works is it goes back into your past, it searches for a framework that matches with what's happening right now, which is exactly what my brain did, and it picked up a set of experiences, a set of circumstances that made the most sense to my brain based on all of my other life experiences. And rooted in shame. Ultimately, anytime we're getting triggered, I'm the believer that it's rooted in our shame. It's rooted in my not good enough. It's rooted in your feelings of there's something wrong with me. So if you're a person that has that experience of what's wrong with me, we go back, we find a set of experiences, and we literally bring them into the future. And I literally did that, where I put it into the future and I laid it all out the exact same way that I had done before. So needless to say, I made an ass of myself in my reaction to this situation, which honestly doesn't happen very often, but definitely happens more so in dating, in intimacy, and heightened emotions. And so I had the opportunity to make a complete ass of myself, which ironically I'm strangely excited about. Fortunately, it doesn't happen that often, and I learned so much from it. So I make a complete ass of myself, and then I go into my searching and my knowing of how to clean shit up. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't made this big of an ass of myself in this situation, in this quick of a time, in I couldn't remember when, to be honest. So I'm searching my references for how to apologize and how to make an apology really means something, because just saying I'm sorry in this situation, not gonna cut it. And if the thing were reversed with me, I was honestly, I'd probably just stop talking to you. So I go into my frame of reference, and over these last couple of years of going through all kinds of transformation training and all kinds of transformation personal work that I've done, and helping other people go through major awesome transformation work, I recognize that I need to really take control, that this is an opportunity for me to really help liberate myself even more from the things from my past that are holding on tight, that I need to let go of and want to continue getting rid of and getting out of me, and coming up with new ways of functioning. So I use my creative expression. I start writing, write a handful of stories, write a bunch of things down of everything that's happened and what was going on inside of my brain as all of this was happening. And then I make a handful of videos you will never see, but I have learned that I need these creative outlets because I have all this energy and excitement inside of me and anxiety, and that if I don't get it out, it stays inside of my body and ultimately comes out in this type of a situation with a virtual stranger who's literally just trying to be nice to me. And then I like have this explosive, it's not explosive, but overreactive response to it because I still have this stuff inside of my body that is churning from before. And ultimately it is keeping me stuck from the things that I most want in my life. So I do a bunch of videos. I talk with a couple of friends. I think that's the other like really key component of really good apologizing, is to talk about it with a couple of your team of experts, as I call them. So I reached out, and ironically, right, as the universe and the divine has it, a couple of different people really close to me that understand the way that I grew up and the circumstances of really striving to be a good person and growing up deep in the church reached out to me. And I had the opportunity to talk it over with them and go through some of our stuff and honestly just get even more liberated in those conversations of revealing to each other our struggles with our judgment and our shame and our belief set that keeps us boxed in to our smaller reality. And so we helped each other by opening up, by sharing, by being transparent, and we literally helped to move each other further along in the process of getting free. And so then one of my friends was like, I was like, man, I need to do something like really impactful for this person in order for me to really clean this up and help me to eradicate more of this stuff, like cut even more of the ties of my past and the things that have happened in my past that would lead to my overreaction in a situation like this. And so I came up with like a plan of what I could do to like actively show my deepest, sincerest apology. And so I went through the practice of coming up with this idea, finding something that this person would really appreciate. And then I went out and I spent probably like 3 hours contemplating and sorting through like what would be the best way to communicate my apology. And so I searched around over the evening and I found like a handful of the right card, and then I found a couple of other things and spent some time like writing it out and really being thoughtful and fully owning my part and how to like really take responsibility for my part without putting it on him, right? And I'm a firm believer that when there's shame on one end, there's shame on the other end. But to be able to present yourself in such a way where you're fully taking responsibility for yourself without having to even bring them into the equation is true liberation. So I put all of this together and I get it done by the end of the night. And I literally felt like a new person. Because I had put in all of this time and effort throughout the day of writing it out, creating some expressive outlet for myself to be able to really like go through all of the steps and all of the stuff that's there that would have been contributing to this behavior happening. And by the time I went to bed, one of my favorite things ever is to be able to wake up in the morning as one person and go to bed a new person and allow that healing to take place in my mind, in the subconscious, and also throughout my entire body. And so that by the end of last night, I had this just huge awareness of relief throughout my whole body, throughout my mind, and I made some very concrete decisions about things from the past that I had decided on. I made some very clear new decisions of how I wasn't going to do certain things anymore and how I wasn't going to carry some of that specific hurt into my future relationships. And I firmly decided I will not be doing that again. So I would love to hear from you. Do you have a process for how to truly, transformationally apologize so that you too can be the most liberated badass lover. All right, guys, thank you so much for spending time with me. I can't wait to hear from you, read your comments, respond to your comments. And in the meantime, if you'd like to check more of my content out, please check out my Facebook group, which is a free coaching group for people who are on the search for becoming more liberated badasses. You can find me at Liberated Badass on Facebook, in addition to my YouTube channel right here. All right, have a wonderful day. Talk to you soon.